Ego. If we are inherently awareness which oversees all, then that which we oversee, the thoughts which form a perception of self, becomes the ego. Ego would be the concept we build of ourselves in our own mind. It is also the ideal way we see ourselves and how we wish to be perceived by others. If we think about ourselves in the individualistic aspect, that is usually ego. If we are trying to express ourselves in a certain manner or showcase our likeliness to others, that is also usually ego. Yes, it is quite hard to avoid and is ingrained deep within our psyche. Positive or negative thoughts, which place emphasis on the self, are formed to create an individual in your own mind, and an individual for the world to see, or at least the individual you would like the world to see. So, if thoughts are ego, and ego is the false self, then who are we? We are the infinite awareness behind everything, which oversees all thought, emotion, feeling, sense. The pure consciousness of awareness is our internal essence, and the ego is a mental construct we bring out into society. Ego provides a basis of being and living. It is true that ego also causes far more suffering, and that to live without ego is a truly transcendent way of living. But that does not make it the worst thing in the world. A well-developed ego, or thoughts of one's own being, can provide a miraculously purposeful life. Almost all people live with ego, therefore have to contest with it too. An ego will exaggerate situations and tell you something is wrong when it is not. Because of its individualistic nature, it needs something to attach to, someone to attach to. It needs something that provides a sense of self. Whether that is complaining because someone outwitted you at a party, or if it is trying to prove your worth to all others on the football team. When it comes to the party, reflecting negatively and with a sense of jealousy on the situation is actually your ego talking. The mind quibbles in meaningless resentment and narcissism because your ego came under attack. Your perceived sense of a smart, witty self was stirred senseless by a stranger at a party. Proving your worth on a football team is a good use of ego. It forms extra effort, competition, and a purpose to strive for. Though if it begins to cause judgment or jealousy of others, the ego begins to work against you, indulgent in senseless suffering. This is where the separation begins. You are able to watch the ego, watch your thoughts without attaching yourselves to them. When you attach, you reinforce the ego, and the ego is in control. It is only when you identify with your thoughts that you identify with your ego. Ego is not a bad thing. It can lead to some amazing accomplishments, but it does not need to be followed in everything you do, at all times. Thoughts can be observed, and if you recognize that certain thoughts only act to cause internal suffering, then detach from the ego. Become the consciousness behind it that sees a situation as just another part of life, not something trying to obliterate your sense of self. Some things don't matter. Everything can just be experienced without having to attach your being to it. When you attach yourself to every little thing, you are only causing your own strife. Use the ego. It helps to navigate life, gives a sense of self, and provides a motive to accomplish things. Form a healthy ego, one that cares for others and does not command control over everybody else. Know how to detach from the ego. The ego is not truly you. You are the awareness which observes all, experiences all, and can watch without attachment. When you notice your mind's wavering towards thoughts contained in the self you have created and the problems around it, just fall behind your thoughts for a second. Become the awareness, your true inner being, and navigate from a perspective that is beyond your egoic self. The ego are the thoughts which you place on yourself, about yourself, and the true inner being is not identified with anything. It is your pure essence which experiences the world.